All right, Blues, I'm joined again by Stephen, who runs In Esteem Company. His blog is in the description below. He goes to the youth games. He knows what's what with the youth players. In part one, we talked about the youth players we've signed this summer, so check that out. Link as well as in the description below, and it'll be on screen somewhere now. But in this part, we're going to talk about some of the big name youth players who've left this summer, starting with Marcos £9 million Lopes.
Breaks my heart, genuinely.
Don't cry.
To me, he was the exact example of everything you'd want a young attacking midfielder to be, in terms of potential and ability. And when he first made his debut 2 years ago, and he showed so much natural promise, and he did it against West Ham. He set up two, and that great one against West Ham, he set up Aguero and the crossing deep, and there's just that kind of fire and stockiness to him that I think he's definitely going to make it a level. And I'm very surprised if he doesn't at least make it to Jesus Navas kind of level.
Champions League.
Yeah, a good player, the kind of player that these days is worth 25 to 30 million. If there was a young, even Navas, he'd be worth 25 million. He would be, because that's how the market dictates. And I know we got 9 million for him, but
it's a weird one though, isn't it? Like there's conflicting reports. Some say he wouldn't sign a contract, but I think you'll say that.
I don't think that there's much to that. I mean, I wouldn't sign a contract if I was going to get 3 games. I do think if you'd been given more of a chance maybe in pre-season, because he was limited to a few sub appearances.
It's a bit weird, that wasn't it?
It was strange. It didn't make sense to me, because he was a player,
favoured players that got games, and then
I guess maybe the contract things weren't going well. It's just speculation that, but I do think if he'd been around the squad for say 10 starts and another 7 or 8 substitute appearances, I think he would have hung around if he'd already been on the bench, won a few games, but he didn't even make the bench, so I don't blame him really. But I think you have to wonder why he's leaving, not why he won't sign a contract.
Do you think some of the players that we brought in, so even Patrick Roberts, I was going to say De Bruyne and Sterling, we play in similar positions, but even Patrick Roberts, maybe Kalichi as well, they're getting appearances or sub appearances. He's being left out in the cold. I think maybe there's something a bit deeper that we don't.
I don't know. I think he made it quite clear that he needed to feel loved, so to speak. And I don't think City gave him that right assurance, which is a shame really, because I can honestly see him in 2 or 3 years' time being worth 40 million. It might have been a bit raw.
Is there a buyback clause?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I hope there is.
We hope so.
Because even if it was 25 million, if he reaches his potential, it'd be worth,
worth
60.
It. Yeah. Well, I think
play for Sterling and De Bruyne and people like that.
The other side of the coin was that this is a player that we haven't spent money on.
Yeah.
And we've got £9 million out of which, if you ignore that it's Marcos Lopes and it's the one with the most potential, at the end of the day, the academy has to be where some players come through and the rest we get money to bring back in. Because at the end of the day,
there will always be the 1 or 2 that slip through the net. That's always going to happen.
The fear is.
I mean, it's decent money. I just would rather not miss out on players who have such an affinity towards the club. He genuinely does love the club.
His tweets when he left,
it's clear.
He's having a breakdown, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason why, if there is a buyback clause, I feel a little bit more at ease, because I don't think he'd actually think twice about coming back to the club if there was a situation where he'd be a first team member. Because I do think it's a shame. I think it's the wrong decision. I think he should have made an effort to involve him, but at the same time, I kind of get where they can. Nasri, Navas.
It's kind of one of those where you've got our core of attacking midfielders, and obviously they're better level now than Lopes, but in 2 years,
one step back for 2 forwards, or 3 forwards, players like Navas and Nasri, they're not young anymore. They're not old, but they're not young. And if it meant, I don't think it necessarily diminishes the squad so much to include one of them for one of the other players. I don't buy it. You see Villa playing one of their own products, Jack Grealish, and why would one of our own products, arguably a better education, then necessarily mean we're going to lose Aston Villa? It doesn't make sense to me. If other teams can play one of their players, we can play one of ours. I mean, I get why he's moved on.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
But I don't think it necessarily means the team's going to go down a level.
It's present versus future, isn't it? And it's one of those. But let us know in the comments below about Lopes. A lot of you have already commented, so I want to know about that. But let's move on to another huge youth team prospect who we just gave a 5-year deal to,
Jason
Denayer, who now plays at Galatasaray, which, before I give it you, Galatasaray was a weird move, but he is going to a league which is super competitive.
just a little bit.
And the fans, he's going to get atmosphere that he's never had before and will never get again anywhere else. And most importantly, he's going to be playing European football.
Yeah.
And he's going to be starting in a European team. Once he breaks in, I think he's already better than what they've got.
You just hope the league isn't so crazy, which it is,
Which will make him...
that it doesn't, derail his progress, because he's an exceptionally talented footballer, a Rolls Royce of defender. How many 18-year-olds move to a league? Like, you can put the Scottish league down, but that's a tough league.
And win Young Player of the Year.
Little Scottish lad chasing you intently, like a Paul Dickov type, snapping at your heels. And if you're a kid, regardless of the actual technical ability of the league, that's tough. It is. And having balls fly over top of your head and running back towards your goal, that's the muck and nettles, nitty-gritty defending that makes a defender. And he handled that just brilliantly.
I think the thing with Denayer is we promised him the world and gave him nothing, and he featured prominently in the pre-season tour.
Yeah.
And he looked like it was going to be Company and Denayer, or Company and Mangala, with Denayer waiting to force his way in.
I do think there was intention to use them. I think he was meant to be there, but I'm disappointed, because I think the Otamendi's meant to be a great player, and I've seen a little bit of him. Whether he adapt to England, who knows? I
think the thing with that is that the board said they'd only sign a world-class player in that position if one came available, and I'm hoping it was just a bad situation where they thought Otamendi is already world-class and Denayer will be.
Yeah.
So we'll send him out for 1 year. I imagine it's a 1 year until Denayer gets phased out next year, which he will.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that Denayer is such a good footballer technically, in terms of his reading of the games, his telling us that he could have stepped in occasionally at right back, when he could have been a backup right back now, and that's not. I know people say, oh, he's a centre back, but so many natural defenders, centre backs, who get Ferguson was good at it. Giving centre backs. Wes Brown started at right back for United. He was a great player, but they get eased into positions of less responsibility. And even he could have been doing the Denayer role of coming on as a last-minute sub. Yeah. I think he's a great player. Fortunately, it's only a 5-year contract, and he's ours. And if this next level of his progress goes up, then he will definitely.
I think it's all about his attitude now. He needs to finish the season at Galatasaray and be.
There's no worries of that.
And then he's got to be that good when he comes back, which he will be. He's got to impress that well that he comes back and says, right, I'm in.
If Guardiola does come, he's the archetypal Guardiola footballer. Technically brilliant, fast, can play anywhere across the middle 2/3 of the pitch. What a player.
So that's the two that you want us to talk about. Let's very briefly talk about Rakik and Pozo. Rakik, I don't think was as good as Denayer, so that's the one. So if it was going to be either or, it's going to be Denayer, wasn't it?
I don't think he's quite got the pace. He's got a good footballer, but I can see him kind of hanging around, that kind of second tier of the European football for a while. Nice football, technical, but not necessarily maybe strong enough or aggressive, or have that real dynamism that Denayer brings.
Pozo?
A shame, really. For 2 years ago, he would have been arguably City's brightest prospect, but then he kind of had a Torres scenario. Injuries, and really set him back, and he didn't look as sharp, not as quick. And then, when he came back, he was playing as a number 9 because he couldn't get in on the wings for the EDS because of Barker and Ambrose, and it's just not happened for him. But that happens sadly with some youth players,
Some will make it, some won't, some will get money for, some will slip through the net. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you want to see more of these youth things. There will be more. So like the video, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you soon.
I think we won 2-1. 2-1. Come on, 3-0. 3-0, we won 3-0. We won 3-0. Top of the league.